Welcome to the Indy Fitness Summit. Today I am introducing you to Mrs. Mindy Irish. She went from overweight mom to fitness model. If you can imagine that, that was quite the transition. And so she has had quite the journey in terms of herself, but also in helping a ton of other women all over the place get fit, get healthy. Enjoy Mindy Irish. So I'm here with Mindy Irish from Mindy Irish Fitness. So tell me a little bit about your fitness journey. Like, where did you start? How did you get into this? Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so my 30-second elevator speech is basically I was 225 pounds at the birth of my fourth kid in 2009. And this picture right here. And I had 5 pregnancies in 6 years. And so by that point, I was giving a lot to my kids and my family, and we were in real estate and moving a lot. And I got to a point where my kids were so little, and I physically and emotionally and mentally was just not giving myself space. And I got to the point where I said, I need to become an item on my priority list. And at the time I used Weight Watchers, and I basically took a lot of weight off. I did cardio classes at the YMCA, and fast forward, I got into strength training and became a personal trainer, and then started helping other people on their fitness journey. So that's a summary of that, taking me over the last 10 years.
All right, so you're saying that from that, the 225 to now, or to actually becoming a personal trainer, that was like a 10-year journey?
Became a trainer in 2015. I started coaching clients online in 2014. And then a personal hobby was I started competing in a division of bodybuilding in 2013. So I got great results early on. It didn't take me 10 years, but this is just where I've developed from then until now.
All right. So tell me about, like, in this journey, what's been the greatest challenge for you? There's a lot of people who have the very same issue. They know they're overweight and they have a family, but that tends to be more of their excuse versus their motivation. So How did you switch that from an excuse to more of a motivation?
So in the beginning, when I invested in Weight Watchers, I was spending $40 a month on myself to go to those weekly meetings, and I felt very guilty for spending $40 a month. And I had to get over that guilt and learn that it wasn't selfish, it was self-care, and I needed to be okay with that. And I was giving myself permission to make that investment of time and finances. And the more momentum I got with that mindset, the greater my perspective opened up, and I was more willing to be okay with taking time for myself in the gym, for my wellness, for my mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health, all of it. But it really started with letting go of that guilt. And I feel like we as mothers or parents, we feel that we're taking time or money away from our kids. The saying family first. And I really battled that because I felt like, how do you have family first if you don't have your health? If you don't have your mental health to be able to take care of them, or your physical health. So I had to find a way to walk together with both of those, family and myself.
Okay.
And that slowly developed. So when, initially getting okay with spending $40 a month, I got more okay with spending time in the gym, focusing on my nutrition, thinking about myself and what I was feeding my body. And then I worked on myself first. I think that's something that a lot of parents tend to do, is they want to work on themselves and everybody else. And they want to get their spouse and their kids, and we're going to overhaul everyone.
Right.
And that was one thing I didn't do, was I worked on me first.
Well, I think it's necessary because, like, it's one of those things where if you're a person who's going to give all day, like most mothers do, if you're giving all day, you have to be able to start with you. You have to do something for you first in order to be able to have the energy to give to everyone every day. Because, like, when I was back when I was in education, the first thing I would do is every morning, I mean, it's an old habit from college sports, but I would get up in the morning, go work out, and then I could go in a classroom and be okay the entire day with giving all day long. So I think it's kind of like in that same vein of what you're doing there. You have to be able to do you or give to you first so you can show up as the best you possible for
Right.
everyone else. Yeah.
But it really started with my perspective and my mindset. And that to me is really like the foundation to physical and mental and emotional well-being. Because if we aren't giving ourselves permission, then we're just constantly battling our own self-talk.
Right. So with that, and that have been your journey, would you say like the clients that you work with, are most of them kind of dealing with the same journey in terms of they have to first get the mindset together to be able to spend time with themselves and to focus on them and to improve themselves? I mean, in terms of like most of the people you work with, do they fit in that kind of category?
Well, so I work only with women, and I coach clients online, and I work in person in my home gym. But what a lot of the work I do with clients is teaching them to be okay with taking care of themselves, and that self-talk piece. A lot of also what I do is instilling in them that it takes time. And what I tend to come up against is somebody putting a date on the calendar to get there. They're okay with starting, and they want to fast track to a certain size, look, or weight by a certain date. And I always say the fastest way to end before you begin is to battle that timeline. And you need to be able to just start and get an understanding of where you are, get those baselines on everything that you do, and then slowly develop and give yourself grace and space. That's another one of my sayings: grace to not be perfect, and space, meaning time in your day to implement new ways. And a lot of times I've always said, if I can't get to someone's mindset, if I can't get them to switch gears and either be okay with taking care of themselves and or be okay with giving it time, then commonly I can't help them. It doesn't go very far. So either they may not be ready, or I just can't break an old mindset.
Right. Now with that, I mean, obviously there's those people who they're not going to change. I run into people all the time that say, "Oh, I want to do this or that different," and they keep doing the same stuff, and they don't want to invest in themselves to make the changes, or it's always an excuse, like I was saying before. Now, tell me about like someone who's been like a tremendous turnaround in terms of someone who's worked with you. Like, what's been your most pleasurable experience in terms of your clients and their growth and where they've, from point A to point B or A to Z. What's been one of those moments that have really stood out for you?
So I've had opportunity, in 2014, I started coaching clients. Ladies came to me and said, "You've had a lot of progress and success. Will you help me?" And I said, "Oh, I didn't feel qualified." And I kept getting asked. So I finally said, "Okay, I'll do it." And then I realized I was called to do it. So then I was equipped to the call. And I started helping people one by one. I've now worked with women across the country. I think I've been in 35 states and 3 countries, and helped over 155 women. And with that, to answer your question, I've seen a lot of people who have developed new mindsets and developed new patterns to where they get to a point where they don't need me. So some of the most success stories are where they might work with me for 6 months, 9 months, 12 plus months, even over 2 years. And they say, "I think I've got it. You've helped me change my perspective. You've helped me put this in my day. And now I've filtered it into my family. So my spouse and my kids are taking care of themselves. We have new lingo in the home. We have new patterns. And now they are doing it themselves without me. And they get it. They're instituting a new lifestyle. And they use the accountability of a coach to basically set new ways into motion." So that is always my biggest success, is when I can get someone to essentially like launch from the nest, spread their wings, and fly on their own without, I mean, of course, everyone loves that accountability and that guidance from a coach or a trainer, but they can now do it on their own. So they may or may not have lost a ton of weight, or they're just fine tuning. Maybe I've got gals who start out with me that they aren't trying to go from a certain point on the scale. They're more or less just trying to make sure that what they're doing is working for them and they're not setting themselves back.
Okay. Now with some of those people, you said you've been working with people for some of them up to over 2 years. How often do you, how you're training people, how often do you work with people? Are you, I know some of it's virtual, so do you like go a couple of times a week? Are you having sessions with them, or is it once a week? Or, how does that work?
So my online coaching is through email and texting. So I have clients email me once a week, and I have like a 12 to 18 point check-in piece, a template that they fill in. They're filling me in on all parts wellness through email. I'm reading their report, looking at their goals, and then making suggestions of what I want them to implement for the next week. So I'm really big about teaching people how not to try to be perfect. This is all a practice. So I'll say, I want you to put this into practice. Maybe it's a certain training plan that I've written for them, certain cardio suggestions, or try to hit a certain calorie amount. Some of it might be they need to pull the cardio back. Maybe they're doing too much. That's not uncommon. Some of it might be that they're eating too little based on their body's needs. We need to pull those calories out. So everyone is different and working on different goals. And then once a month, I do a phone call, and I am on the phone with clients discussing their progress, because that as much in person as I can do is really important to me. I do have some clients that come and train with me in person. I also have clients who are local in Indiana that we meet once every 2 weeks. So we're doing more of an in-person coaching session, and it's not on the computer. So I can actually craft it any way that I want, whether they want to come train in person and learn how to use the weights, whether they're focusing more on lifestyle and habits and nutrition, or whether they say, some gals say, I don't do well with just responding to an email. I want to work face to face with you.
Okay.
So it's pretty neat that there's lots of ways, and then you can connect with someone across the country, or I've even just connected with a client overseas, and you can go worldwide with this.
Right. So with that, if someone wanted to work with you, or they wanted to get in touch with you to learn more about your programs and how they could actually become involved and you help them, how would they get in touch with you?
The best way is to email me, and that's mindy@mindyirish.com. Okay. And if you go to my website, mindyirish.com, there's going to be tons of information on that website about me, past clients, testimonials. I have a whole page of video demos for exercises, so if they're looking for training ideas, and then a lot of articles that I've written. But if you want to do a little background research on me and just figure out who you're getting in touch with, mindyirish.com will get you there. And all of my contact info is on there. Initially, if someone's local to me, I do try to meet in person. So I'll meet you out in a coffee shop, see if we're a fit, go over some things.
You brought up something about going out meeting, and you have 4 active children that are all involved in sports on some level. So how do you maintain and doing all that you do with that?
Well, first of all, 2 things. My husband is pretty amazing, and you know my husband because you played football with him. He's like Mr. Mom. He does a lot of the cooking and the grocery shopping. He and I divide and conquer a lot, and we have a great relationship with that. I just have to also be careful not to overcommit personally. I'm really, really territorial with my time and be really guarded on where I say yes with what I'm committing to, and really make sure that if I'm going to volunteer, be it at the schools or on a committee, that it's in alignment with my goals, and so that I'm not overextending. I learned that the hard way early on in motherhood. I was trying to please everyone and do too much, and I learned to pull back and meet my needs and my family's needs, and then if there's a little extra time, I can volunteer here and there. So
So that probably bleeds over into how you actually train people too, because I would imagine, you have to be pretty selective in terms of the people that you take on, because if there's someone that's not there in the mindset and they're not ready to really go after what they're trying to go after, it'll probably be that's a difficult battle. Like I've been with people who are like they're not into it really, so they may say they're here to see me for I'm trying to get healthy, but really they're just trying to get rid of a pain, or they're just not really committed to what they're doing, so they don't show up and they don't do all those different things. So I would imagine that makes your selection process in terms of the people you work with a pretty selective deal. So that explains the long.
Yeah, that's a really good point you brought up. I will say in my over 5 years of coaching now, this last 6 months has been a very high draw for some reason of people who want a fast track to fitness. And I'm not really quite sure what's going on in the industry. I think with the rise of social media and a lot of workout options out there for us with all these new gyms popping up, I feel like people don't know where to land and they're kind of hitting everything, but they see people getting results and they want to go from here to here very quickly. And I've become very okay with saying, I'm here to teach you how to get to know yourself. And that's not always easy. To teach you how to figure out why you do what you do. If it's serving you, then we're going to keep it. If it's not serving you, if it's setting you back, we're going to work to set up new systems. That's not fast and that's not comfortable. But if we can get through that in the long term, then you will be very happy and you will be setting up a lifestyle that you can maintain, like myself, 10 years down the road. The last thing I want to do is promote anyone coming in with a timeline and trying to get somewhere very fast when they're not ready. And typically the people like that will weed themselves out because, it's like trying to join a sports team where you don't have the interest or the talent or the dedication. Like you're not going to stay on that team.
Right. I understand. All right. Well, Mindy, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you taking time out of your day for the Fitness Summit. And I look forward to maybe doing something down the road.
Absolutely. And it's a pleasure to be a patient of yours, my family and I, and thank you for having me.